Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So my name is James. I'm teaching in Thailand, living close to Bangkok. Maybe you visited there. It's a fantastic city. So my channel has been about my journey into the career of teaching abroad. I went right back, if you look at my earlier videos, into my decision making process. Living back in the UK, nothing much was happening, and I was looking for new opportunities. And I came across this advert for a course, TEFL course, and then everything just kind of progressed from there. I was spoken about how I ended up in China, which to me back then was something which kind of blew my mind, how I ended up going there. So again, that was 10 years ago. I've been living out in Asia for pretty much all of that time, apart from a 9-month break I had back in the UK after I'd left China, before my time in Thailand. So anyway, we've gone through the training that I went through when I arrived in Thailand, and the problems I had when I got there in terms of getting the wrong taxi, paying 5 times as much as I should have, and also the issue with the visa, because the government changed the rules at that time where your visa had to be registered in the city where you were going to be working. And of course, I wasn't going to be working in Beijing, which is where my visa was registered. I was going to be moving to a city of Zhengzhou, which I'd been told on my first meeting at the new company that I couldn't do. So I had to spend 3 months working in their centers in Beijing until they sorted it out, whatever that was. Again, I had no idea how things worked there. Probably meant, paying someone off or whatever. So yeah, so I finished the training, and then I got sent to a center in the north of Beijing, the very top. And so it's kind of out the way. I remember the company put me up in a apartment in a place called Wanjing. It's quite a nice place. Quite a lot of trendy stuff, trendy bars and restaurants around there. The room itself was like very small, just like a kind of small bed, and with a TV that was very old. But anyway, it was free, so fair enough. And I remember having to navigate the the huge subway network, which was a challenge, and I had to change lines. And then once I got to the place, I had to take a bus out to the center, and it's quite hard to find the place. I was kind of lost, and I remember my first day looking, where is this, what, how do I get to the center? And I remember having to ask locals and hoping that they could understand me, and luckily I found someone who could point me in the right direction. So that's another thing of expat life, communication. Obviously I didn't really know any Chinese at that point. I'd only been in the country a little while, and it's a very hard language to learn anyway. So I managed to find the place, and I got introduced to my coworkers, and they were great. They got on with them immediately. In fact, there was 2 people there who were from my hometown. So that was fantastic. So got on well with these people. At that time, I was just meant to observe, not teach. I think I'd not done well enough in the training. I was just clueless, I think. So amazingly, they gave me a position. So I was just observing, um, and that went on for a couple of weeks. And then eventually they started to give me a few classes, and I remember my first class. You know, my co-teacher was trying to observe and give me tips, and it's just like I remember trying to teach something, and it's like, yeah, you haven't explained anything, you haven't taught the kids anything. You're just going straight into an activity. You need to, present the information, and then you move into the practice and the production and all of that stuff. So yeah, I had no idea. Um, I just tried my best at that point and just kind of tried to, absorb as much information as I could. Um, the this company, they had a very specific curriculum where everything was was digitized, and you would teach each slide, you know, that they had in their program, and so you had to learn you kind of had to sort of memorize what slide was coming next, so you could kind of have some good flow to what you were doing. Obviously, in the beginning, I didn't really know that well, each slide. So my transitions were kind of slow and everything, and you had to kind of think on your feet a lot. Obviously, this improved as time went on. But yeah, it was definitely pretty hard work and stressful, because you're kind of having to perform, and you don't really know what you're doing. um, you're just kind of learning on the job, really. But I guess that's sometimes the best way to learn. You put your feet in the fire and you just gotta sink or swim, right? And they give some helpful advice. So yeah, that's how things started off for me in the teaching business. And I just want to talk about some other issues that you have outside of the job itself. So not only do you have the stress of learning a new career and a new country, and just trusting that you can figure it out, but then you have the other problems of settling into a new country. I remember I had a big problem with my mobile phone, because in the UK, when you get a phone, you generally get a contract, which means that you don't buy the phone outright. You pay monthly for like a year or 2 years, and then you pay for the phone in that monthly billing. But it also meant that the phones were locked, which meant that you could only use that SIM card, or phone for a particular SIM card, for the company that you bought the phone from. If you bought it from, Three or whatever, the O2 or whatever the networks are now. So basically, I realized that I couldn't use my phone, and I didn't have any money to buy a new one, and I had to wait almost 7 weeks until I got paid. Actually, for some reason you had to work a month on, and then another few weeks, depending on when I started, to get paid. So I went 7 weeks without a salary there, and of course I ran out of money. I had to email my dad back home, and of course I wasn't sure whether, I hoped he was going to get the email, because I was thinking, how am I going to eat? So luckily he got the email, and he put some money in my English bank, and then I used my bank card, my Visa, to get the cash out. Back then, China, by the way, was still using cash a lot. Of course, if you've been to China or anything, now that everything is just on phone apps now, WeChat as it's called, or Alipay, you know. So it's basically a cashless society now, pretty much, if not completely. Anyway, so 7 weeks without mobile phone. So that was a real challenge. So yeah, you got the job, you got finding your way around the place. The place is huge. Using the subways, using the buses, not being able to communicate with locals at all, or the very few that can speak your language, and not having a phone, which is so important these days. So yeah, it was interesting first couple of months there, and I just gradually started to settle in, to figure out what to do, how to do things, what's going on. I must admit, at that time I wasn't too happy about being in Beijing. I was really wanting to move to a smaller city, because it was kind of overwhelming. It was too big, and I was not used to that at all. And I think there's hours traveling every day. I got a bit sick of that. But the one thing good was my co-workers were brilliant, got along with them, had a nice time there with them. And so I was there for 3 months. 3 months just trying to learn as much as I could before I was ready to move on to Zhengzhou. But that didn't work out, and so for the next video we'll talk about what happened there, what happened after I left Beijing. Okay, so again, thanks for watching and listening. Please subscribe and like the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.